This is World Insight. Thanks for watching us and welcome back. In our second story today, we take a close look at Russia. On Tuesday, Russia and Venezuela carried out joint maneuvers in the Caribbean Sea. And just a week ago, President Dmitry Medvedev warned that Moscow would deploy missiles in Kaliningrad against America's missile defense shield. What's behind Russia's hawkish stance? And what about its relations with Latin America? Many wonder what Moscow is up to.
Russian Deputy Prime Minister Igor Ivanovich Sechin was greeted at Havana's International Airport by his Cuban counterpart on Tuesday. The visit came just one day after he signed a nuclear energy agreement with Venezuela.
I should tell you that our work has been satisfactory in Venezuela. At the Venezuelan Gulf platform, we made the first exploration perforations, and this is very good. And we think that we will work with the same effectiveness in Cuba.
Meanwhile, Russia's nuclear-powered cruiser, Peter the Great, and support vessels were conducting joint maneuvers with the Venezuelan Navy during their 17,000-mile deployment. It was the biggest display of Russian military power in the Western Hemisphere since the Cold War. Over the past few months, a growing number of Russian diplomats have been on high-level visits to Latin America. And it's not only military cooperation. Economic relations between Russia and Latin American countries are also improving fast lately. In 2007, Russia was Cuba's number 10 trading partner at nearly $400 million in two-way trade volume. The flurry of activity has caught the eye of the world, and especially of the U.S.
There are three reasons for Russia to improve relations with Latin America. First, Russia wants to show its military strength. And second, Russia wants to show its dissatisfaction with NATO's action in Black Sea in this August. And third, Russia wants to enhance and regain its power in the Caribbean Sea, its traditional area during the Soviet Union. Russia wants to rebuild relations with the Caribbean, and cooperation in military and economics will last for a long time in the future. Russia wants to send this signal to the U.S.
Dmitry Anatolyevich Medvedev.
On November 5th, President Dmitry Medvedev delivered his first State of the Nation address at the Federal Assembly since taking office in May. In his 85-minute speech, broadcast live on television, Medvedev said Russia faces such threats and challenges as the construction of a global missile defense system, being surrounded by military bases, unrestrained NATO expansion.
To neutralize, if necessary, the U.S. anti-missile system and Iskander missile system will be deployed in the Kaliningrad region.
Medvedev made it clear Russia would use more than just diplomatic means to respond to challenges from the West.
Russia has delivered clear signal to the world. It warns Poland and the Czech Republic on building the American anti-missile system. It also sent a signal to the EU and wants the EU to play an effective role in this issue. Energy cooperation means the EU's Russia policy is quite different from America's. So Russia wants the EU to do more in this issue. And of course, Russia delivered a very clear signal to America that Russia has the strength to confront the United States.
The European Union has expressed strong concern over Moscow's plan to deploy the Iskander missiles in the Kaliningrad region, which borders Poland and Lithuania.
Stationing missiles in Kaliningrad is certainly the wrong signal at the wrong time. Just as in the past, I called on the U.S. administration to seek dialogue with Russia in the case of missile defense. It is necessary that Russia recognize the opportunity to seek dialogue with the U.S. so as not to set any new arms race in motion here in Europe. This is important.
Back in the summer, the U.S. signed initial agreements with the Czech Republic and Poland to begin basing part of a missile shield in the former Soviet satellites. Washington says the missile defense shield would help protect the U.S. and its European allies from a missile attack by countries like Iran. But Moscow has repeatedly said the U.S. plan is a direct threat to Russia's national security. The confrontation is not, and never has been, just about the missile shield. It's about the different security concepts, as well as the reassertion of Russia as a world power. The country has suffered for years over the collapse of the Soviet Union. The eastward march of NATO has swallowed up former members of the Warsaw Pact, Russia's traditional strategic space. Some are wondering if Russia and the U.S. are headed for a new era of confrontation.
We do not have problems with the American people. We were not born anti-American. We hope our partner, the new administration in the United States, will make a choice of fully fledged relations with Russia.
In my opinion, this is not a time for confrontation or even a new Cold War. The big problem is the difference in security concept. The U.S. keeps confrontation ideology in dealing with the relationship with Russia. It wants to maintain the stability and security through offensive and contradiction. For Russia, cooperation and dialogue are the key factors in this security concept. But when the U.S. always keeps surprising Russia's traditional orbit, Russia can't find a way to have a dialogue to solve the disputes. That's when a tough stance appears.
Furthermore, in recent years, Russian confidence has been also given a boost from its economic strength, thanks to its energy advantage. Russia is the EU's biggest energy supplier, as well as its third biggest trade partner. Support is now growing for the European Union to resume talks with Moscow on a major partnership agreement, which were frozen in September in protest over Russia's invasion of neighboring Georgia. Energy had most EU nations backing reopening the talks as foreign ministers gathered in Brussels to take a decision.
I think it's time to resume the negotiations with Russia on the PCA. It's of a mutual benefit both to the European Union and to Russia. We need to get relations back towards where they were. Economics should not get in the way of politics.
The proposed EU-Russia partnership deal would include closer cooperation in fields such as crime fighting, immigration, food safety, and trade.
For more on that, the EU-Russian summit took place in Nice over the weekend. If the deal can be signed, it may be seen as a good example of maintaining regional stability and solving disputes through dialogue and cooperation. Let's go now to a third and final break, but when we come back, we'll take a look at lost treasures right here in China.